Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about something that is very, very important, something that I've become really ingrained in the last couple of weeks, and that is talking about one of the biggest reasons why you're not better at FIFA. Now ultimately for me it comes down to one thing which I'm going to explain. You can see in the background we've got some great gameplay going on, some gameplay from me playing champs the last few days and also draft, and both things we're going to talk about here right now. But ultimately one of the biggest reasons, I think probably the biggest reason, and it comes back to something I watched the other day. I was watching NEPENTHEZ stream and he was having a bit of a debate with somebody who was talking about one of the reasons why he thinks NEP lost the game, and that was DDA. And NEP had a very heated debate, very passionate about the topic, and I can say that I was watching that and I completely agree with everything NEPENTHEZ was saying. Now, if you don't know what DDA is, it is dynamic difficulty adjustment. So it's obviously something that in the game people think kind of assists players that are maybe struggling in a game. So if somebody's dominating a game, the DDA will kick in and it will help the person that is losing. And one of the big points that I took away from it, from what NEP said, was something like this is impossible for EA to make. You know, considering the fact that there are probably millions and millions of games of FIFA that get played every single day, to be able to create an algorithm that can somehow distinguish who is dominating the game, like what are the factors for somebody dominating? What do they take into effect? Is it shots on target? Is it possession, pass accuracy? You know, time spent in the opposing third? Like, how do you dictate whether someone's dominating a game or not? And it just really completely made sense for all those people that believe DDA is a reason for them losing games. And ultimately, I think that's the biggest problem in this community. Now, with that being said, that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't any areas where this game will screw you per se. You know, there are things, for example, like kickoff goals. There are inconsistencies with tackling and stuff like that. 90th minute, 45th minute goals, stuff like that. But that's more coding issues, not necessarily DDA. And that's where I think people get it wrong, is they blame this dynamic difficulty adjustment or scripting or momentum or whatever it is. They blame that for the reason why they lose games. Yet in fact, the biggest reason why these things happen is just the fact that it is just poor coding, and it's poor animations, and it's tearing animations, and it's very difficult to explain, obviously without us having any experience in the field. But that is ultimately what is to blame, and that's where I think mentally people lose themselves when they play FIFA, because FIFA is all about two things. It's all about how good you are at controlling your mental state and how skillful you are. That's exactly what it is. You know, if you can control your mental state and you're a skilled player, you'll be good. Now, I'll take myself for an example. When I play in Foot Champs, I'm probably Elite 2, Elite 3 standard. Most weeks I'll finish sort of 25 wins. This year I've had a lot of 23s, you know, just about scraping Elite. Now, in previous FIFAs, I've been sort of 27, 28 wins. You know, I've been Elite 1, not quite top 100 standard, but just outside sort of top 100 standard. This year I've been way below that, and that's because my mental side of FIFA has been terrible. I've been getting so angry when I've been playing games, and I've even fallen into the trap of blaming DDA and scripting and momentum, and it's not the case at all. You know, that is not the reason why you lose games. The biggest thing with people when they play FIFA is they always try and find an excuse, a reason for why they lost, rather than just maybe accepting the fact that you're maybe not as good as you think you are. Now, that's, like I said, it's not taken away from the fact that there definitely are instances in this game where you will lose a game because of some sort of, you know, external factor, but it is not this dynamic difficulty, this scripting, this momentum that everyone talks about. Now, for me personally, I've been playing a lot of draft recently. Now, the biggest thing that I can tell is my mental state is my problem, not my skill. My skill is kind of very, very good. It's my mental side of it, and that's where most people fail in FIFA, and that's why, you know, you are the skill level that you are. It's not necessarily because of any scripting or anything like that. The reason why you maybe get goal 3 is because you are just a goal 3 player, because of your mental, not necessarily because of your skill. Your skill level might be a gold 1 player, but because you're not able to keep your emotions in check when you're playing FIFA, which is obviously very difficult, that's why you're not hitting that gold 1 standard. Now, for me personally, like I discussed where my finishes normally are in champs, I've been playing a lot of draft recently, and in draft, in my last 16 draft entries, I've won 15 drafts, and the only draft that I lost in the final, which means in what, 64 games, I've won 63 out of 64 games. That is ridiculous. You know, that is absolutely mental. That is extremely high level FIFA, and that's the thing. When you have the skill, as long as you can control your mental side of it. Now in draft, obviously, you're not really as bothered. Like for me personally, if I lose a game in draft, I'm not really too bothered because I can just enter again. And I know that even if I do lose one in the final or the semi-final, I'll get to that semi-final or final again. So it doesn't really bother. But in champs, obviously, every single game matters. And I think that's the competitive side of FIFA, where every game means something and you have to really give it 100%. So those little things that happen in the game, whether it's a kick-off goal, whether it's a 45th minute, whether it's a tackle you made and you didn't get the ball, that sort of thing is quite major. And I think that's where it gets blown out of proportion because there's so much riding on just one game of FIFA. And when we touch on, obviously, for example, the tackling, where people might say, oh, the tackling is scripted or whatever, the tackling could very easily just be explained by the fact that maybe in a line of code in their coding system maybe says the tackling success rate is 20% when we believe maybe it should be like 70%. That's how that could be explained. 45th, 90th minute goals are exactly the same. You know, whenever I concede a goal in the 90th minute, they could very easily, the line of code could read in the 90th minute, shot conversion rate is 95%, meaning that every time you pretty much shoot on target in those minutes, you're going to score a goal. Those things could be very, 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 very believable. But I think for when people say DDA and scripting and all that, for them to be able to create an algorithm that determines who is dominating a game is just completely outlandish and just makes absolutely no sense. You know, when people talk about, Nep had a prime example in his video where he lost a game, I think it was 6-1, and he was having a back and forth with his guy while he was playing, and he was talking about, when's the DDA going to kick in for me? I'm 6-1 down, surely I should be getting more lucky bounces, surely my shots should be going in, you know. And he was taking shots, keeper was still saving them, and it was the fact that kind of really just highlighted that, you know, DDA is not a thing, you know. Another example would be, if you ever played somebody who you beat 3-0 in 10 minutes and they rage quit, if DDA was such a certain thing, why would anybody ever quit games of FIFA? Why if you're 3-0 down in a game after 10 minutes, why would you not sit there and think, oh, the DDA will kick in a minute and I'll win this game 4-3? You know, if it was such a certain thing, nobody would ever quit FIFA games. And also, you know, touching on that, if DDA was such a certain thing as well, everybody would get the same score in champs, because one game it would go for you and you'd get the DDA to go for you, and the next game it would go against you. So you would finish in champs, for example, between sort of 14 and 16 wins. Everyone would get the same amount of wins, but that's obviously not the case, you know. And when people say, oh, but pros can, you know, get pro, you know, it doesn't affect the pros, it's because they are better skilled, so that it doesn't affect them. These you know, 45th minute, 90th minute goals, it's just one goal. It doesn't matter because they can score 12, for example. So that's where it's not DDA. It's just you're better skilled, you know. And that's, I think, the biggest thing with people in FIFA is they can't accept maybe that they're just not as good as they think they are, and so they always try to find an external reason for why they lose the game. And like I said before, that's not to say that there aren't instances in this game where this game does influence matches with a bogus tackle or you know, a lucky deflection, but that doesn't necessarily, is not enough evidence or any evidence at all to support, you know, the game being scripted. I think you have to look at your game, you have to know where you've made mistakes. I've just edited all this gameplay and I've spotted tons and tons of mistakes that I've made, you know, even in the goals that I conceded. Even though I won 63 out of the 64 draft games that I've played, I can still watch the games and see mistakes that I've made for the reasons why I've conceded goals. And there's been a few goals in there that have been lucky, and there's been a few goals in there that have been, you know, just, you know, lucky bounces or, you know, whatever they may be. But ultimately, you could look back at a lot of your goals that you've conceded and probably say, yeah, you know what, I did that wrong. And not enough people play FIFA and just go, you know what, that guy was just better than me. No BS, nothing. That guy was just better. I played a guy yesterday who I beat in the semi-final. I think, it might have been yesterday, might have been the day before that I played in the semi-final. I beat him 5-0. And he messaged me afterwards saying, there's no way you deserve to win that game, you were lucky. And the stats were, I didn't actually screen grab the stats, I wish I would have now, but in the end, I only had 7 shots on target and I scored 5 goals. So he's messaging me saying that I didn't deserve to win the game because I had 7 shots on target and scored 5 times. Meanwhile, he had no shots in the whole game. Not shots on target, he had no shots. I completely shut him out the whole 90 minutes. So the fact that you can have so I'm being branded as being lucky because I've been clinical by scoring 5 out of 7 shots on target, and that's the stigma in this community now. It's an extremely toxic community, and I think it's not about having a go at anyone. It's not about me digging people out, anything like that. But for someone like Nep, I completely agree with everything that he says, and like I've said, I echo his comments where he talks about the fact that there are definitely instances in this game that cause results to go against you sometimes. But the majority of times when you lose the game, people, for example, if you finish, let's say you get 17 wins, 13 losses, a lot of people will take that as, oh, there was probably 7 or 8 losses in there that I lost because of, I got screwed by EA. There is absolutely no way that you would be 7 or 8 wins better off per week, and it wouldn't happen on a consistent basis. If you finish 17 and 13 5 weeks in a row, there's no way that 5 weeks in a row you would be 8 wins better off. It just wouldn't happen. The things that happen in this game might account for probably 1 win in your whole weekend league. So if you're someone that finishes on 17, if you didn't get screwed, you'd probably finish 18. The rest of it's just going to be you mentally making mistakes that you don't realise you're making in the game, and you then blame it on the game. Or secondly, you may be just not as good as you think you are, and you just need to practice and get better. But ultimately, mentality is the biggest reason. Like I said, for me to go from champs where I'm raging my head off and I'm getting super angry, to then beating every single person I play in draft at any time of the day, whether it's morning, whether it's night, with all sorts of different formations, tactics and players, I can win 63 out of 64 in draft. And that just, to me, completely backs up the fact that it's all mentality when you play FIFA. If you've got the skill, doesn't matter what team you're using, doesn't matter your formation, you'll be able to make anything work. You've just got to remember, it's extremely hard, and there will be people that will respond to this video, I know, in the comments, that will tell me, you're wrong, this, that and the other. I'm prepared for that. I know exactly what's coming, but they're the people that act like that and behave like that are the ones that I guarantee you probably finish it, probably the ones that are finishing in silver in champs or gold 3, and they're the people that will never get better. They're just always looking for an excuse, a reason for why they didn't win, and it's just natural. People do that. People don't want to take responsibility and accept that maybe they're just not as good as they think they are. It will damage their ego or whatever. But at the end of the day, your skill is your skill. You can improve your skill, obviously, by practicing. Obviously, getting better players does help. Again, that's not saying that having a better team doesn't help. But if you gave me a full prime icon team with Team of the Years, I ain't going to go 30-0 because I haven't got the skill to go 30-0. If I had that team and I had a cool weekend where I kept my head, I probably would get 28 again, and then all would be well. But at the end of the day, I don't have the ability to keep my cool at the moment, when I play champs, hence the reason why I haven't got the results this year. And it's nothing to do with DDA or scripting or momentum or any of these things. It's just the fact that I obviously haven't been good enough with my skill, and I haven't kept my head well enough in games. And until you can control both of those things, you won't improve in champs. If you want to be one of those people that just blames the game all the time and say it's the game's fault for every single mistake, for 100% of the errors, it's the game. It's never you. And that's what I say to people. If you're one of those people that never says, what, maybe I'm just not as good as I think I am. Maybe I just got battered by that guy. No BS. I just got beat by him. If you can learn to accept your mistakes, if you can learn to accept that maybe you're not at the level you think you are and you want to get to, that's when you'll start to improve. So hopefully this video helped you out. Hopefully you did pick up maybe some tips. And if you do have anything that you do want to discuss in the comments, I'll be more than happy to discuss any questions you've got in the comments, or if you disagree with something I've said, you think it's complete BS, I'd be more than happy to discuss with you in the comment section below. But if you want to see more videos, do drop a thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well if you are new to the channel. That's all today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.